Go, girl.
Hello.
Go. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I am joined by Stephanie Banks. Stephanie is a highly sought after intuitive channel, mentor, and guide that helps people connect on a soul level. She is also a best-selling author. She has written one book that we're going to talk about today, and she's currently writing another. Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. I'm very excited for the meandering conversation we will have.
I love this so much. So I love the fact that you talk about dementia, which is going to be something that we talk about here today. Because as a registered nurse, I used to work in assisted living, and we actually had an Alzheimer's unit. So this is something that's definitely near and dear to my heart, as it is to yours. So your journey into channeling began as a way to communicate with your mother during her dementia. Can you share what the experience was like and how it opened the door to your intuitive abilities?
Yeah, definitely. So I, like you, have a clinical background in a lot of hospital work. I've been a speech language pathologist for a couple decades, and I thought I that would make me really well suited to
Mm,
manage my mom's dementia, but my mom's dementia started when she was in her 50s, and it was,
wow.
yeah, and it wasn't
Young.
Alzheimer's. It was something called frontotemporal dementia, and it really
Mm,
does affect younger people much more
right.
um, frequently than Alzheimer's. So I was clinically aware of what to expect and what the symptomatology would be
Mm,
like, but I was ill prepared in terms of emotions and
yes.
and how to like maintain our connection
Right.
because with dementia, usually it's a progressive degeneration of the person's ability to communicate or understand language. And it was my relationship with my mother was really falling apart. We were frustrated with each other. We were not understanding one another. I also had very young children at the time, so you can imagine that
Yes.
everything was kind of maxed out for me. And it was kind of like her behaviors also required the same level of attentiveness that I needed for my really young kids. It was hard. So
Absolutely.
I had a best friend at the time who she's still my best friend. She's just not in body anymore. And is a very gifted channel. She used to um, channel souls that were on the planet. So I could ask her, can you channel my child? Can you channel my mother? Can you channel my dog? And they were living and here present physically, and she would tune into their soul and bring in the most amazing messages
I love
and
that.
give me the insight and the guidance I needed to improve that relationship or to understand what was underneath it. And so I had her channel my mom for me, and it changed everything. My mom's soul was able to communicate through my friend that what this part of the journey was really all about for
Mm,
her, and that even though it looked a certain way to me in certain situations, it was not always that way for her.
wow.
And it gives me the chills to talk about it because there's so much to be learned from the soul perspective.
Yes.
And I was able to make the choice how I wanted the rest of our relationship to be because I knew that, she would pass from dementia and that she would likely have a more limited lifespan, I suppose. She died at age 66, which for our
Wow.
standards is kind of young.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but it changed my world. And I thought, if this can make this shift for my relationship with my mother, what if I learned to channel for myself and I could use this in all of my relationships?
Yeah,
What would that be like? So I did.
absolutely.
I did it.
I love that so much. So you kind of touched on this for a brief second. So you've had a fascinating career path from a speech language pathologist, birth doula, lactation consultant, and now an intuitive channel. How
Yeah.
do you see the connection between all of these amazing roles?
Yeah. Oh, they're so totally connected. So I came to the speech pathology because I'm such a fan of language and connection communication. And then while I was early in my career as a speech pathologist, I became really fascinated with pregnant mommies.
I love that.
Right? Like who doesn't love a pregnant mommy? So I started to I found a lactation consultation training that because in speech pathology, one of our areas of expertise is feeding and swallowing.
Mm,
And that's not just for people, elderly people who've had a stroke, it's for infants. You know, there are babies who
absolutely.
are born prematurely or have neurological disorders, and it makes the coordination of their feeding and swallowing very difficult. So I wanted to bridge the gap with what we do in the hospitals with bottle feeding and supporting the mothers who wanted to breastfeed. That to
Yes.
me, is a no-brainer, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I got trained as a lactation consultant. And then naturally in the breastfeeding realm, one would be drawn to the newborn and the pregnancy realm. And I started to learn about what women who are birthing face as their
Mm,
challenges in hospital environments,
yes.
which that's a different podcast, honey.
Absolutely. Yes. Like thinking about my own experience, like, oh, yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes. So before I ever had children, I kind of really dove into the information to see what are we up against as women who want to have a non-interventive birthing experience.
Mm,
Um, I don't say natural anymore because all birth is natural, right? Like it's a natural process. But so they're connected that way. I honestly, the undercurrent in all of this is empowering women
absolutely.
to claim what is theirs to claim, to stay, be in their genius, to trust themselves, their bodies, the beauty and perfection of the body, and a mother's and a parent's connection to their baby, to their child, and how to support that. So that's kind of how they're all connected for me.
I love that. So, in your TEDx talk, you share your experience with channeling. What was the most surprising or profound moment in your channeling journey?
Oh, well, let me tell you the most surprising moment in my TEDx journey.
Yes, absolutely. Tell me. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is a story. So I had, as is my type A personality, and I would venture to say perhaps you can connect to that as well.
Eh,
I had over prepared, I'd really prepared for my TEDx talk. There was no way I was going to forget a line or
right,
be looked at as like, oh, she's not ready for this. So I had rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed, and I knew my talk backwards and forwards. The day before we actually had the event, I was laying on my patio meditating, and I heard my spirit guides say to me, "You're going to make that one mistake that you are most afraid of making." And to me, that meant I was going to forget my speech.
right, absolutely.
And I said, "Oh, hell no,
Don't know what
there's
you're talking
no
about.
way." Yeah, I'm not going, that's not going to happen
Right.
because I have rehearsed. So then I got up, I got really panicked. I got up, I rehearsed some more. I was like, nope, I know it, I know it, I
Right,
know.
right, right.
So the next day, I go to the event, and I was one of the earlier segments of speakers, and people were backstage pacing and practicing their
Right.
talks. And I knew my talk so well that I thought if I practice it more, I might jinx myself.
Yeah.
Um, so I checked in with my guides and I said, should I pace and practice too, like all these other people are? And they said, it's not going to matter.
Whoa.
I
Excuse
know.
me. Excuse me. Whoa, excuse me.
I know. So I started to really wonder what's going to happen here because
Right.
I have been preparing for this for months. We just
Right.
re, you know. So my turn comes, and I should preface this with saying there is a part of my talk in which I speak about that best friend I just told you, the
Yes.
one who first taught me how to channel. She had just been diagnosed with glioblastoma,
Oh,
which, as you know, is a very fatal brain cancer.
right.
She had just started I think she'd had surgery. So she was wearing a headscarf. She was in the audience. She was there, regardless of what she was going through medically and
Oh, I have
physically.
chills.
Yes, she
Oh,
showed up for me.
I love
She's like, I am
that.
not missing this. So she's in the audience at the TED Talk. And at the moment in my speech where I talk about her,
Yeah.
I blanked.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I understand now, of course, that makes sense. It's highly
Yes.
emotional, and I had found her in the audience and
Right.
saw her face beaming at
Yes.
me, and we were making eye contact, but I blanked. And lucky for me, there's a guy who sits in the front row with all of our scripts, and so
Yes.
if you freeze, he can read you whisper your next line. But that's what happened. The thing that I most feared happening happened. I forgot a line. I
Yeah.
needed the help. It disrupted the flow of
Right.
my
Absolutely. Yeah.
talk. It
Yeah.
was like, to me, it was horrible. And it took me a long time to get over that.
Hmm.
But now I'm so grateful for that whole mistake. And also I'm grateful that my guides told me that was going to happen,
Yes.
because it's nice to have a heads up that you're going to trip, on something. And
Right.
after the talk, because of course I recovered, I got the line and I made it through the rest of the
Of
speech.
course.
And it just lent itself to people being able to connect even more.
Absolutely.
My humanity and my vulnerability were right there at the surface, and people had a lot of compassion for that.
I love that. I love that. And it's good that you can look back on it and say, no, that was a good moment. It probably also sank you deeper into trusting your guides, your intuitive abilities, and everything. Like, yeah, yeah, you're full of it. No, they weren't.
Yeah, they they were right. And I lived through, like it
Right.
was the worst case scenario, and oh well, so it already happened. So now I
Right.
can keep going. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. So I do want to talk about your book. So writing Joie Joanie was deeply personal, and I apologize if I mispronounced the name. How did the process of writing the book shape your own healing and understanding of soul communication?
Well, that book, I feel like it wrote itself. I feel like that writing is channeling. It's a form of
Right.
connecting right to divine energy. And I was really clear, and I still am. I don't want to be known for that book. Like, I don't want the whole like realm of dementia to be like my platform. It's not,
Right.
spiritual
It's like a part
connections.
of your journey.
Exactly.
Right.
It's what birthed me. My mother's dementia gave me the opportunity to even discover this world.
Absolutely.
And so I'm really, really grateful for that. But the book is very practical, like, and it's honestly more it's not clinical in nature,
Hmm.
but it's from a clinical perspective of, if you want to maintain a joyful relationship with your loved one who has dementia, don't do this. Definitely do
Yes.
this. Right?
Yes. It is shocking the things that you need to do when you're working with somebody that has dementia that people just do not
Yes,
realize.
we don't.
Yeah.
And we come from the perspective, like the biggest thing that people tend to do, myself included, is if someone who has dementia or any cognitive challenge says, like, let's say it's Saturday now, and they think it's Tuesday, and they say it's Tuesday, and we want to correct them.
Yes.
Does it matter?
Nope.
Really? Right? It doesn't matter.
Yep.
And all of these corrections we make are communication breakdowns for them,
Absolutely.
right? Because nobody likes to be corrected. And if someone is convinced of their reality, do we need to like drag them out of it?
Nope.
Especially if it's not hurting anybody, right? If it's a
Absolutely.
reality that causes harm, that's one thing, but we're just talking about little details. So my mom would do things like, we'd walk outside, we live in Florida, it's 95 degrees, and she'd say, "Ooh, I need my sweater." And I could have said, "Mom, it's 95
Right,
degrees.
right, right.
Don't need a sweat." But I would just go inside the house and get her the darn sweater,
Right.
because why risk, like something we have to repair,
Hmm.
a communication breakdown that we'll have to repair. Just get her the sweater. She's going to start sweating and she'll take it off, and it'll be
Absolutely.
fine. So it's like a way of reorienting our minds to, what is the thing I can do to maintain the communication connection right now, instead
Right.
of being right.
I like that. I like that. We were always taught to meet them where they're at and don't take them out of their reality because that's going to be triggering and traumatizing to them. I don't need to
Right.
argue with you about what day of the week it is. Does it really matter?
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't
Exactly.
matter.
Yeah, that's why the title is Joining Joanie.
Oh, I
Joanie
like
is
that.
my mom. And this, if you want to walk with someone in their
Hmm.
journey, and I do encourage everybody to walk with their loved one
Right.
rather than ahead of them, then you want to join them. You want to stay connected. And that's what the book is about, how to stay connected
Nice.
so that when their journey is complete, you don't have regrets.
I like that. So you channel messages not only from spirit guides, but departed souls, but also animals, trees, and Gaia. What does this kind of connection feel like, and how do these different energies communicate with you?
Hmm. Well, it feels like love. That's how it feels. And I think all of us know what love feels like. It's just this pure, beautiful, nourishing, wave of energy. And the natural world to me is that,
Mm,
animals are the purest, positive, loving energy. That's why I have four dogs.
I love that.
The trees, like this, the natural world, we are nature. We're not separate from her. The culture would have us believe that, but it's not true. So spending time in nature is coming back to our essence, and we can all channel nature.
Hmm.
This isn't unique to me. The trees will communicate to you if you stop, if you listen, if you hug them. I always encourage people to hug a tree. So will the animals, the small creatures, the big creatures, your companion animals. If you connect through your heart, you'll receive from them. And that's channeling to me. So I teach people how to do this, how to
Hmm.
trust in it. And it does change our lives, our perspective, our health, our well-being, all of it.
Absolutely. So you emphasize heart brain coherence in your teachings.
Yeah.
How can people start to incorporate this practice into their daily lives?
Yes. So you'll want to go to the Heart Math Institute. It's heartmath.org. They have the most brilliant researchers and scientists that have proven the vastness of the heart and the energy field of the heart and the intelligence of the heart. So we have a culture that's heavily reliant on the brain as
Mm,
the most intelligent organ, but actually, I would argue no, the heart is the more intelligent. And so when we have coherence between brain waves and heart frequency, we don't have any like wasted energy. We have
mhm,
this beautiful state of being steady, of being calm, of being centered, of being connected, and being receptive. And the Heart Math Institute teaches what they call a quick coherence technique, which I
mm.
can take you through now
Yeah,
if you
absolutely.
want. Yeah. Um, and this is what I use sometimes before I channel, or if
Mm,
I'm going into a difficult situation, it just helps everything to come back into coherence. So what you do is you close your eyes and you just connect to your breath. So you just breathe, that's it. And imagine that as you breathe in, you're breathing in through the front of your heart. Just imagine that. And you are exhaling out the back of your heart. And so, with every in breath in through the front of the heart, with every out breath out through the back of your heart. And if you are able to and would like to, you can place a hand or two hands over your heart. And as you breathe like this, imagine someone or something or some place that you adore. It could be a person, it could be an animal, it could be your favorite spot by the river, somewhere outdoors, an ancestor or loved one, anything, anyone that you absolutely love. And then just center your focus on them and send them this loving energy that you are feeling and feel it being beamed back to you from them. Feel all the love, all the peace, all the gratitude and appreciation for this thing or this being in your life as you breathe. And just take a few more nice, slow, easy breaths, basking in this gratitude and appreciation and love. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Oh, that was beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I had this vision of like my heart be like, like in the back. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Like exhale it. Right. I
I
know
love
it's
it.
If we can give the brain something else to focus on besides our
Yes,
thoughts, right? Like, and imagining breathing through the heart, we don't really usually imagine that. So the brain's like,
so
oh,
true.
okay, let me try to do that.
So
So yeah,
true.
beautiful.
I love that. So you teach others how to access their own intuitive gifts. What is the biggest misconception that people have about channeling and intuition?
That only some people can do it.
Mm.
Most people believe that this is a gift that's only bestowed upon a select few. And I call BS on that. Because all of us have intuition, and that's the place that channeling comes from and through, is the place of intuition. That's why it's called intuitive channeling. And we all have a heart, and we all have an imagination, and those are the three components that are necessary to be a channel. And if you want to be a clear channel and a channel of the highest vibrational loving frequency, as I am and as I teach, then you will devote yourself to practicing that, and
Absolutely.
to clearing yourself of the heaviness and the negativity and even the relationships that don't serve you anymore.
So you just brought up a very, very valid point about this is a practice in order to remain a clear channel. Do you happen to have like a daily spiritual hygiene practice that you can remain a clear channel?
Yes, yes. And if I don't do it, I better not be channeling because it's necessary. It's necessary for me to be able to serve in the way that I do. So mine includes time in nature.
Nice.
Lucky for me, I have a little backyard and it is a garden. It's a
Oh, how
food forest. My
beautiful.
son and I planted together. We have papayas and bananas and mangoes, and like you can imagine, all the tropical things that would grow are in my backyard. And vegetables and greens and things of that nature too. So along with that comes worms and birds and squirrels and mice, all kinds of beautiful, wonderful animal creatures. And being outdoors allows me to release all of the dense energy I've absorbed,
Mm,
and Mother Earth just helps me with that. She just helps me drain that. And she knows how to compost. So she turns that energy into something that's more usable, for her. And then I just get delight from all the life around me and the way my plants
yeah.
are growing, and how perfect nature is, and how much harmony there is in the natural world. So that is absolutely crucial. And then, of course, a meditation practice is essential.
Mhm.
I'm not a great meditator. I pretty much suck at it. I but I show up to it nonetheless, and I keep going. I have crystals that I use that really help me ground and
Oh,
center and
beautiful.
clear. And I believe a high vibrational diet, it's important for me. So I keep a plant-based diet.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Whatever brings you health, well-being,
Hmm.
joy is belongs on your list of bodacious self-care. And that's what helps me be a clear channel.
I love that. I love that you and your son have made this food forest. That's definitely something that my son and I have talked about. I mean, I'm in New York, so it's going to be a little difficult to do, but it is definitely a dream of ours. And he also wants to grow bananas. So
Oh, wow. I don't know if it will grow in New
probably
York.
not, but I might have to do it inside, but that's okay. I'm willing to try. And but I respect that so much that you are outside in nature, honoring the earth and taking such joy, it sounds like, from the living beings. And that just it shows how much you're committed to your craft and also just being a conscious, clear channel. That's just it's so important. I love that. So
Yes,
cool.
thank you. It is. And definitely grow stuff with your son, because it has really deepened our relationship. I mean,
Yes.
he's older now, so it's kind of me alone in the garden
You're
these
right.
days.
But when he comes to
But
visit,
I mean, no, he's not. He still lives. He's still a minor.
oh,
Um,
you're like, but is he a teenager?
Busy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I
But
understand.
yeah, it was one of the best things I've done for our
I love
relationship,
that.
and we can still connect. And sometimes I just drag him out to the garden. You will notice these bananas. You will,
I love
you will help
this.
me harvest this. And he's like, okay, fine. And he does delight in it.
Oh my goodness. That's so cool. So you mentor clients in self-trust and soul purpose clarity. What's one common challenge that people face when trying to listen to their own inner wisdom?
They question, this is what they almost everybody says. What if I'm making this up?
Oh, yes.
right? And that is like the threat that they're making it up. They feel that
Yes.
if they're making it up, that's the problem, that's the risk. And what I always say is, honey, we are making all of this up.
So true.
Every day, all the time, Rachel has made up her podcast. And I have made up my career. And like this is the beauty of being human, is the imagination that we're blessed with.
Right. Right.
Nothing in your room behind
Right.
you, Rachel, or in my room behind me has ever been could have been created if it wasn't first imagined.
So true.
So that there's nothing more real than the imagination. So if you say, what if I'm making this up? Be like, I'm making this up. And here we go. So that's the biggest stumbling block, is that
Mm.
we've been raised to discount and discredit ourselves. And we have been raised to think that if something's imagined, that means it's not real. And I'm really pushing the exact opposite, because we can't come back to self-trust if we don't allow for that generative and creative aspect of ourselves to be revealed.
Absolutely. I like how you kind of put that we imagine, like, yeah, you're right. I thought, imagine my podcast first, my everything that we do. That's such a good way to put that. To like, no, it was in your heart and in your mind first, and then you put
Yes.
it to action.
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm like having
It's
a
a
moment in my
game
mind.
changer. It's a game changer. Yeah.
So, have you ever received a message through channeling that deeply changed your own perspective or personal path?
Every day.
Oh, I love that.
Every single day. I'll be channeling, and I channel with my eyes closed, and I'll be speaking the message, and then I will stop and go, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Okay. And then I'll go back to the message, because for me, I am always learning. Spirit is
Right.
always bringing a deeper sense, a deeper understanding, a wider lens for
Mm,
us to see things. And even with the many years I've been doing this and the thousands and thousands of messages I've channeled, I am learning all the time. I have a channeling group after this podcast, and I'm so excited to see what I'm going to learn from these people's ancestors, or from their higher selves, or from their spirit guides. It's really, really beautiful. So, and if you were to ask me to highlight some of the
yeah.
most important thing or most profound things, I'm really bad at doing this because they're all profound to me. They're all like mind-blowingly,
Mm,
heart-openingly like profound. I guess I would want people to know that we're never alone.
mm.
And I know every spiritual teacher says that, most of them say that.
It's so
It
true.
just, yes, it's just true. So talk to the presence with a capital P that's around you. Ask for the support and the insight. You will sense something. Because you're never alone, you have an entire team of support that really does want you to have the best, most current information and insight and grounding and understanding. So ask and do some writing. I find that many people are able to channel really well through writing.
Mm,
Um, yeah, your team is here. Your higher self knows what's what. Your soul is always present, and is going to give you as many opportunities as you need to learn and grow and expand.
I love that. I love that so much. I do. I'm having a moment. I love this conversation. So, as someone who bridges science and spirituality, how do you balance the analytical mind with the intuitive heart?
Well, this is the challenge. Not so much balancing the heart, but balancing both sides of the brain. Because in our society, we have overdeveloped left hemispheric function,
Mm,
underdeveloped right hemispheric function. And I'm not saying this like that, if you put probes on your brain, you'll see that. But if you just look around at who's operating from a deep intuition, you'll see far fewer than those that are operating from cognition, from thinking. So the left hemisphere, as you know, is linear thinking, problem solving, logic, reasoning. And the right hemisphere is creative, intuitive. It's our spiritual, where we do our spiritual connection, and it's receptive. And so our work is to give ourselves more opportunities to make that right hemisphere more robust. Anything creative, anything artistic, anything intuitive, music, art, etc., will tap you into that. And it really is the antidote to despair, because I wake up every day knowing that there are millions of reasons for me to feel despair. I feel the suffering of the outer world and what is going on in our political scheme and all the things. I stay aware of this, and I cannot let it take me down or take me out. So I have to tap into that right hemisphere regularly. And there's so many fun and beautiful, enjoyable ways to do that. Lately, I've been using coloring books.
I love that. That's a great idea. Absolutely.
Yes.
Get back to your inner child. Yes.
Exactly. And there's nothing hard about it. And I
No.
get to stay in the lines, which I really do like to stay stay in the line. But if you have the talent to draw, then draw anything artistic. Again, dance, music, cooking is creative. So tap into that as often as you possibly can. It really does help to balance that over reliance on the left hemisphere.
Absolutely. Oh, I like that. Just draw, just have fun, get back to your playful nature. Like,
Yes.
and that's one of the things that humor plays a part in your spiritual practice. So, why do you think it's an important part of the journey to have humor in the spiritual practice?
Well, humor just saves my life every day. Excuse me. If I can't laugh at myself, then we're all in trouble. And we have to be able to laugh at ourselves because we are so weird. Like
Yes, we are.
humans are so weird, odd, strange, creatures of habit, but then also not wanting to be creatures of habit. And the way we communicate, the things that we do, the patterns we repeat that we know
Mm,
don't work and don't function, we just have to go to humor. Humor is our quickest connection to divine energy. So bring it, and everybody has a different sense of humor.
true.
I don't get a lot of mine from like comedy shows. I don't, it takes a lot for me to find certain things funny, but plenty of people do. So go to those if that's what gets you
Right.
giggling. Children always bring humor. I find so do animals. Their antics. They have the funniest, silliest ways. I could sit and watch my dogs all day long and just laugh because they're so funny. But this is, it lightens our heart.
Mm,
And instead of being so mired down by that which feels dense and heavy,
right.
we finding humor allows for us to kind of break up that heavy kind of encrusted energy so that we can go to levity, and that's where spirit resides.
Absolutely. So you're currently working on your second book about your spiritual journey. Can you maybe give us a glimpse into what themes or lessons you'll be sharing?
Yeah, this book is actually going to teach people how to channel for themselves.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Exactly. It's my, aside from channeling for others, my next greatest delight is teaching others how to channel for themselves and watching their eyes light up as they connect, as they receive messages, as they realize, oh my God, I've been doing this all along. I just didn't think I could trust it. I just didn't think it was a real thing. I thought I was making it up, but now I know
Yeah.
I'm making it up. So this is, I want a world where everybody trusts their internal guidance.
Mm,
Because when we live that way, we are in harmony with each other. We are in gratitude. We're growing food, we're sharing food with each other, we're taking care of each other's children and families, we're offering support and then reciprocity with the planet. That's the more beautiful world my heart knows is possible. That's what it looks like. And so I want to teach as many people to channel as I can because channeling is love and it's wisdom and it's guidance and it's insight and it's pure.
I love that. So before I ask you the last question, if anyone wants to learn more about you, or I know you have online courses that people can take, you have groups, you have one-on-one sessions, you have your book, what is the best place for them to go to?
Go to the website, soulinsight.com. Do not Google search me by name because believe it or not, there is another Stephanie Banks who's an intuitive channel. Not lying.
That is
I know.
wild.
I know. So make sure if you want me that you go to soulinsight.com. Yes.
Soulinsight.com.
And
That's
I'm on social
fascinating.
media as well as Stephanie Intuitive Channel. But yeah, isn't that wild? What are the chances?
Well, I think it's funny if you Google Rachel Garrett, you bring up a Star Trek actress. So
Oh, okay. Yeah. But that
Obviously,
has nothing to do with your field.
obviously she's, yeah, well, maybe it does in a way, working with extraterrestrials and in space, but
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true.
but you're right, it doesn't. But
But she's not your competition, is my point.
absolutely not. No, Stephanie Banks. No, that's awkward.
She's really great about it. I unfortunately have had to contact her a number of times and say, "Yikes, this client meant to schedule with me," and she's like, "No problem, I'll
Oh
refund."
my
It's
goodness, I
we
love
work
that.
totally differently, but we do the same work,
Yeah,
so it's all good.
I love that so much. So, for our final question, for those who want to strengthen their intuition or begin their own journey into channeling, what's one simple practical step they can take today?
Hmm. I would say go back to that heart coherence
Mm,
practice. That it's so simple. You can do that in 2 minutes. And if you practice it regularly, quite naturally and without any efforting on your part, you will find that you are more guided, you are more centered, you are more aware and intuitive.
that's great advice. Stephanie, I want to thank you so much for coming to the Spiritual Spotlight series today. It's been fascinating to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Rachel.